Picking out the perfect serger can be a challenge. Hi, I'm Sarah from sewingmastery.com, where we do free video tutorials on sergers, sewing machines, and embroidery machines. So I want to give you some tips that can help you pick out the perfect serger next time you go shopping. Maybe you've never owned a serger, so you don't even know what to ask for when you go into a store. Or maybe you've got a serger that it's time to upgrade and you don't even know what's available. So these tips can help you no matter where you are on your serger purchasing journey. I've recently had a few weeks to spend filming this particular line of Bernette series of sergers. So I'm going to just point to some of them just as a reference, because they each, even though they look the same, have their own unique abilities. First, identify what type of sewing you enjoy doing. Are you more of a quilter? Do you like to do crafts? Are you working with fabrics that unravel? Or are you just sewing multiples and maybe doing work for charity things that where if you had a serger, you know it would go that much faster? And keep in mind that just because you own a serger doesn't mean you need to use it every single day. I'm sure there's appliances in your kitchen that you have purchased, but we use them from time to time. But once you do pull them out, they are the perfect item to cook that particular way. Whether it's your air fryer, your sous vide, or maybe it's your KitchenAid. Now, some of you I know use those every single day and look for recipes specific for those unique appliances. And we do the same with our sewing projects as well. If you realize, hey, I can do that on my serger much quicker than I can do it on the sewing machine, well, there you go. You're pulling out the serger that day. I love it when at our recent sewing retreat days that we host at our store, when we unload the vehicles and there's both a sewing machine and a serger waiting for us to take in for them. I know that they are set up to do some serious sewing. I've also had recently a couple people just bring a serger. That's all they bring, because with what they're sewing, that's all they need. No matter where you go to look at sergers, I want you to take the time to sit down and sew on them. Test out a few stitches, test out a few fabrics, maybe some thick fabric, thin fabric. We always encourage people who are looking for sergers to bring that fabric to our store and sit down and find the serger that works best for them. They all sound a little different and they all have different features that could be right for you, but not until you sit down and look at them and feel them. It'd be like buying a car without actually driving it, because once you sit in the car, you find things that you absolutely love, or sometimes things that you're not really fond of. So being able to try out different sergers is key. And by going into your local store to do your serger research, you're also finding that they're going to help you identify certain things about different sergers, be there for education, and often provide you the service down the road once you have owned the serger for a year and are ready for your first annual tune-up. So make sure that you are supporting stores in your area so they can be there down the road to help you along the way. So I mentioned this particular serger is just a traditional 4-thread overlock. It can do the rolled hem. It can work with fun decorative threads. Some sergers, like the Bernette series that you see here, are also air threaded sergers. So that's something people are always asking about, is how hard is it to thread? And a lot more sergers these days have the air threading serger option, which you just push a button and it threads the more difficult parts of a serger and makes it so much easier. I think that's sometimes why people don't ever change colors, is because, oh, it takes so long to thread, or they don't do it often enough for them to feel comfortable. But with sergers that have the easier threading system, it does make it a lot easier. Some sergers will even have tables like this one that come standard with the models, and some models even have where there is a free arm for when you're doing smaller areas, sleeves, or circular hems. That makes a huge difference, so put that on your list if that sounds important to you, to find sergers that have those features. Now, these two models here, one of them is both a serger and cover stitch machine. That's 2 machines in one. If you don't have a lot of space and you're making room for this new addition, this is an option should you wish to have that professional finish that you see on garments that you purchase at a store, especially if you do work with knits or activewear. Things sewn with the lycras and the stretchier fabrics or fleeces do really well with a cover stitch option. So those are things that you might think about when you're shopping. Do you want to have that option right away? Even if you don't think you're going to use it immediately, having a serger with both those options is actually really, really nice. Now, these particular sergers will have links below if you want to go check them out. Watch the free video tutorials that we have done and see if one of these models would be right for you. They can at least give you also an overview of some of the common stitches you'll find on sergers before you go shopping. So feel free to use our videos to kind of get an understanding of what you're looking at, maybe even be able to talk the lingo a little easier when you go shopping. So what is this? This is a cover stitch only model. So it doesn't serge or overlock the edge. It has no knife. All it does is cover stitch. So that also means that sometimes people who have a serger that they love, 4-thread overlock, all the basics that they're used to doing, but wish they had cover stitch, they don't need to trade this in for a model that has both. They can add on a cover stitch only machine. And this particular Bernette 62 has the air threaded cover stitch option, which is kind of cool and is super easy. So it's like the addition to the family. So if you have room to have both models, you have the overlock machine and then a machine that's always set up for cover stitch. When you have the combination machine and having 2 machines in one, you do change it from overlock stitching to cover stitching and then back from cover stitching to overlock stitching. So it's not hard, but if you don't want to have to do the changeover, then having a separate machine is ideal. You're probably realizing that if you have a local store in your area where you can go in, ask for help, get information, get the service that you want to support them so they can be there at a later time versus buying machines online sight unseen. It goes back to being able to try out the machines before you buy them. It's really ideal so you don't get a machine and think, oh, is that all it does? And then you realize maybe there was a different model that would have been better suited for your type of style. So that's why taking time to go test out different sergers, especially if you have more than one store in your area, would really serve you well for picking out the right one. Now, once you've picked out the perfect serger for you, the next thing to do is to work through the education provided by the store or videos that you can watch online and actually work through the stitches. So for example, these models actually have a link to a workbook that is free that you can start going through, try out all the stitches, make little samples and keep them kind of together, giving you that hands-on experience that will really up your game. We'll put links below to these particular models if you want to go check those out. Another place that I highly recommend for continuing serger education is CRAFTSY.com. This website has a ton of serger classes. I actually have a serger class on CRAFTSY myself, and there are a few other instructors like me that have serger project classes, advanced serger technique classes, and 2 additional cover stitch only classes, which by the way, I have actually learned a lot. I thought I knew a lot about cover stitching, but I think it was just the way the instructor talked about the techniques made me kind of go, aha. And even though I knew the techniques, I think it was the way she described going about the process made it so in the first 10 minutes of watching those courses, I had already picked up like 3 tips that were going to be helpful for when I taught classes and also when I sit down at my own cover stitch machine. Let's talk thread for just a minute. No matter what serger you pick out, I will tell you the key is picking quality serger thread. You will find cones of thread everywhere and some of it will be very inexpensive. But if you find yourself struggling with your serger, you might find it could be just the thread that you picked. This is not the time to skimp on your thread choice. spend the extra money. It makes such a difference. Anytime that I host serger classes in person and they come with their brand new sergers, I can tell immediately who is going to have trouble in class. And if I look across and I see threads that are kind of mix and match from brands that you're a little older, you can tell they're probably from a, maybe passed down from a grandma. You will find that the people that have quality serger thread just glide through class without any problem. Then there's those that just don't buy quality thread and we struggle, and I usually towards the end of the class we realize that, okay, let's switch out the thread, and it does. It makes the difference immediately. Even on sergers that are inexpensive or sergers that are a little older but have had their annual service recently, a quality thread is key for those sergers to work perfectly. So even though you've picked out your perfect serger, make sure that you pick out quality serger thread to guarantee the use and headache-free serging that you deserve. If one of these tips has been helpful, make sure you're giving our videos a thumbs up. Each time that you watch them, that's your way of saying thank you for the information. And we'd love it if you'd subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, we do have online courses for sewing machines, embroidery machines as well. We'll put links below. Plus, if you're wondering which online courses would be right for you, I welcome an email. Email me at info@sewingmastery.com and I will curate a list of online courses for your specific sewing machine brand and model. Did you pick out your perfect serger already? Put it in the comments. Which serger is your favorite? I wish you well in picking out the perfect serger for your sewing needs.